go. Don't hold anything back. You're in great shape. Just hit those marks. One more lap. Let's go. Looks like you'll lead him in the third on race day. Great job. All right, here we go. Green flag. Go, go, go. Go outside. Clear, all clear, whatever you need.
There we go. My mic was muted. I thought the game was up too loud. Sorry for that. I apologize for you guys not hearing anything of the intro. Qualified on the pole. I was wondering what you meant by you couldn't hear me. I thought the game volume was up too loud. My mic wasn't even plugged in. Yeah, it's on now. Appreciate that. Sorry it took a couple minutes into the stream. What was that, 2 minutes? It took 2 minutes to figure it out. Oh boy. We're good. We're good now. Led the first couple laps from the pole. This thinks you couldn't hear me whatsoever for those first few minutes of the stream. I deeply apologize for that. Well, what I was talking about, I'm going to try to reiterate myself as much as I can here on the fly. First time we've raced NASCAR 7 with the Cup Series on this Mark Martin Revenge Tour in over 11 months. It was the last time we picked up from this season. We finished third at Daytona in the Pepsi 400 in the most recent race. We are just past the halfway point. This race 20 of 36. And we dominated the Busch Series race at Phoenix with Jimmy Johnson last week. So I threw a similar setup into this. I didn't have practice, but I did qualify on the pole with no practice laps. Again, I kind of figured setup should be about the same. Cars handle about the same, Busch to Cup. They're the exact same cars. The only difference is there's slightly more horsepower in these Cup cars. But yeah, I would imagine we're going to be very tough to beat here today. Don't get any notifications. Like, you're not getting any notifications on, like, streams or whatever? Yeah, you'll have to let me know in the chat if anybody else has the notification icon on this channel if you're getting any notifications. I've noticed my numbers in streams for views on the live commentary streams in particular, the last two races, Pocono and Indy, were down significantly from the couple weeks before that. Or from Chicago onward, really. Chicago, I noticed there was like a huge decline for some reason. Then it went back up a little bit and then back on the decline. So yeah, I don't know if that has anything to do with it. Caution's out for the first time. Oh my goodness, we already have one car up and over. Ryan Newman has flipped at Phoenix. It's always Newman that flips. Newman upside down. I thought he was on his roof there for a minute. He was not, but caution flag is out for the first time. We're obviously not going to pit here. Only went 8 laps and we get our first yellow. We had 4 cautions in the Busch race here last week, so I would assume that that's not going to be the last yellow. This race, 112 laps longer in length than that one. Green flag and we're back to racing again. Lap 12. Oh, Johnson blows the first turn on the restart. And Kenseth may get back into second here. Jeff Gordon just behind the 17. This allows for Martin to get out to a pretty good lead on the backstretch into 3. And Kenseth is clear to second. Gordon going for third. Johnson still stuck on the outside, now gets to the bottom into turn 1 on the second lap. Following the restart, he got to the bottom on corner entry, corner exit, he pushed tight and lost a little ground. .899 that last lap, best lap of the race. It's my qualifying lap, like a 20, is it a 0.7? A little over a tenth off from the pole lap. Sure, we'll get to it eventually. So with dominating this season, I want to do my best to try to set a record. Now, usually if I clinch the championship early in these full season points format races, I don't complete the season, I win the championship and then move on to the next thing so we can get to that sooner. I think I'm going to run this season out only if I'm in contention for any kind of NASCAR records. I'm talking like laps led, because I've been keeping track of how many laps led I've had this season. Got over 1,700 laps led on the year. If I end up somehow going wire to wire in this race, which hasn't happened yet, have not led every lap in a race. It's so difficult with these games, especially when there's no stages and stuff. It's hard to kind of split everything in half or take control of a race, even with stages. I mean, that's a couple extra restarts. It's so hard to lead every single lap in a race. But somehow, if I lead around 300 laps tonight, we will eclipse 2,000 laps led, and we still have 16 races left. I don't know what the record for the most laps led in a single season is, but I'd imagine it's got to be like in the 3,000s or 4,000s. If it's in the 3,000s, I think I have a chance to get there. I don't know what tracks we have left. Short tracks are definitely my strong suit on this game. I've noticed that from across all 3 series. I seem to have a lot of laps led in those races, qualify great. Intermediates are kind of hit or miss, and super speedways I struggle, but road courses, for the most part, pretty consistent. So Gordon did get to third. Johnson looks like he fell into the fourth place position. Kenseth's slowly trying to play catch up with his teammate out in front of the field here. You're just tuning in for the first time. We had a caution at lap 8. Ryan Newman was a little slow in the middle of 1 and 2. Gets drilled from behind, really. Up on 2 wheels, and out of the race he goes. Just a few laps in. Go to the Tigers game. I'm actually going to a Toledo Mud Hens game tomorrow. AAA. Affiliate of the Tigers. I haven't been to one of those in a very long time. I don't think I've been there since I was in like middle school, elementary school. We used to go for like field trips annually. Like in May, they would always have like a game that would start like late morning, like 10:30, 11 local time, and we'd always go for that. We'd always leave early though because we had to be back at our school before school got out of session for some stupid reason. I remember one game got done quick enough that we were able to actually stay for all 9 innings, but like most of the time we'd leave 6th, 7th inning because it's like, oh, well, it's 2 o'clock. We got to get back before 3. It's like, it's so stupid. I think, but yeah, I get to see a couple of, good prospects for the Tigers playing. A couple of them that have been on the roster through the season. I have no clue exactly what the starting lineup would look like, for them, but be interesting. Jim Leland getting his number retired. Yeah, I saw you put that in the chat already. I honestly had no clue that was happening, to be completely honest. He deserves it, though. $4,342 laps. I wondered if it was in the 4,000s. I think that's before the modern era, though. I wonder what the modern era record is, because I'm pretty sure modern era in NASCAR is 1973 and onward. So if that happened in 72, I wonder what the modern era is. I mean, obviously, we still have to count it. Most wins in a season's 27. I don't think I can get to that. I'd probably have to win out. There's a strong chance I can get to 20, but 17 races left. I'm at 17. That would get me to 28. Yeah, I'd literally have to win out if I'm going to break the wins record, so that's probably not going to happen. And then we've got average finish. My average finish is 3.5 coming into this race. 3.5 average finish, which is just absolutely absurd. So I'm not sure what the record is there on the Cup Series side of things, but that could be a record we could go for also. 72 and beyond's modern era? Oh, 73. I was thinking it was an odd number for some reason. Alright, well, I guess that's the record we're chasing. It's going to be difficult. We're not on pace for it, because even if we break 2,000 tonight, we're 2 races past halfway, and we're not even halfway to the record yet. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, my car is good enough when I have track position, clearly. I'm in the lead. I'm not giving up the lead. It's not super heavy pressure from behind. Like, Matt Kenseth's not breathing down my neck lap after lap. He's like a few car lengths, half a second or so back, but he's not falling further than that off the lead at the moment. And I'm wondering if I get into lap traffic, if I can either extend that, which seemed to be the case in the Busch race. That's where I was really able to extend my lead there. Was getting through lap traffic better than everybody else. But lap cars are tough to pass here because they don't give you a lot of room. You get underneath them in the corners, especially in turns 3 and 4, and they want to hold you onto the apron. Which, it's not slippery on this racetrack. Like, you can run the apron here at Phoenix, but it makes it a lot tighter. It's hard to get back to the gas soon enough without making contact to actually complete the pass. So definitely going to want to keep this track position as much as we can here. Tigers 51-53 this year. Yeah, they got hot right for the All-Star break. A little bit after that, too. I mean, they're still technically above 500 since the All-Star break, so. Granted, they were all home games. Or, sorry, no, they played on the road in Cleveland. My bad. I don't know why I said home games. They're all road games. At Toronto, at Cleveland. So for those of you also unaware, with the return of this right here, Mark Martin Revenge Tour, we will be doing a Mark Martin Revenge Tour race every night until NASCAR comes back from their Olympic break, August 10th. For that day, we will have live commentary coverage of practice qualifying for the Cup Series at Richmond, as well as the Truck Series race that Saturday night. So, tonight through August 10th, or well, technically August 9th, we will have NASCAR 07 Cup Series content on the channel. We'll get this season pretty close to wrapped up in that time frame. We'll be very close. 14 days. 17 races to go. We'll have 3 races left on the season when we get to that point. And then we'll finish the season up that following week then, after we get through the weekend's live commentary stuff. 13-7 in the month of July. Yeah, they are definitely hot. I wish they didn't have that All-Star break, though. I think they could have done something special. Score update, appreciate that. Yeah, I'd definitely like to get back to a couple more Tigers games for the season's done. They could somehow get in a wild card race or playoff contention. That'd make it more meaningful to go to a game playing for something. Although it does make the ticket prices cheaper when they're not playing for something late in the season. I've gone to a couple late season games in September in the last few years when they've struggled and they're well out of playoff contention. You can get seats behind home plate within the first like 20 rows for like $20-$30 a ticket. It's pretty nice, actually. It's like, man, get that good of seats for dirt cheap even on the weekend, especially if they're not playing anybody, you know, great. Like if you can get them against the White Sox or something late in the season, you can probably go to a game for like $20 and sit close behind home plate. But there's going to be hardly any people there. I mean, it's going to be like less than half capacity, but that's why the tickets are so cheap. Is it this coming Saturday or is it the following Saturday that you're talking about? When you said Saturday, I was thinking you meant like tomorrow. Is it tomorrow or is it next week? Well, next week, I mean, I wouldn't even be able to go next week either. Regardless of the fact, no matter what Saturday it is, I'm not going to be going to that, but still cool though. I really wanted to go see Miguel Cabrera's last game last season, but I couldn't because it was the same day as the Las Vegas Cup race. Was it Vegas? I think it was Vegas. If it wasn't Vegas, it was a different race. But there was a race on that Sunday afternoon. It was going on at like the exact same time. So I was doing live commentary for that. No, it wasn't Vegas. Now that I think about it. Because that was at a Michigan Wolverines game that Saturday before, and I don't think that was the same. That was the Vegas race weekend. But I don't... Dega. Yeah, that's definitely one I don't want to miss. Not that I would like to miss any anyway, but definitely that one. That makes more sense. Yeah, because in my head I was like, well, Vegas was another weekend that I know for a fact that I was up north at least the day before the Cup race. Next Saturday week from today, yeah. Well, I won't be able to watch it either. I'll have other plans that day. Score track it on my phone like I usually would if I can't. Really starting to get away from Kenseth and second. Still that lone caution back at lap 8 in this race. Nothing but clean air in front of Mark Martin, have yet to get into any lap traffic in this one. Well, just as I mentioned it, now we're halfway out of gas. Okay, so made it a decent ways into the run here. So about 80 laps we can go on a full tank of gas, which if my memory serves me correct, I think that's what it was for the Busch race here as well. Or right around there, so similar fuel run. So we'll be pitting around lap 80 will be the plan. And we'll alternate through the different camera angles for the first time in the race today. 27.831, that last lap, fastest of the race for Martin. At work when the Tigers played yesterday? Yeah, I did see some of it. Usually when they play when I'm at work, I can at least watch the game. My last break is at 2:30, so I'm usually able to catch like an inning and a half from like 2:30 to 2:50 in the afternoon. It's nice, the very few and far between games that start around noon, 12:30ish, I can catch like really late in the game. I've seen a couple games end this season. Like if they played a couple early double headers on a Wednesday or a Thursday at noon and the second starts at 3 or 4. I've been able to catch the end of a few games at work. I just turned it on Fox Detroit on the TV in the break room. Website called MLB 66 or something. That's alright, I'll just watch it on Fox Detroit. I don't get great cell reception at work anyway. I wouldn't be able to really watch it from my phone in the break room that much. It's like in such a desolated area out in the middle of nowhere off of a random exit on I-75 that, yeah, I just don't get great connection, anything there. Trying to listen to my own music out in my vehicle, both coming in and leaving work, and it's like if I'm not already in the middle of a song on the way in, it won't play the next one. Lose internet connection out there. A lot of the truck drivers that are bringing like shipments of stuff into our warehouse like facility or whatever, they'll lose cell connection. So if they haven't been there before, we've had instances where they'll like come around to like where we park. They're not supposed to be over in that area, and it's tough because it's like a small country road that you can't get it like a U-turn, especially with a big like semi truck rig. and get them like turned around the right direction, so they have to go all the way like a couple miles down to the next exit to get back onto 75 and do that whole loop again. They've got stuck in the ditch a few times out there because it's just such a tight road just to get onto in general. But yeah, if they don't know where they're going, they just think that the main entrance is over here, but that's not for the trucks. It's happened a few mornings, like on my way in, there'll be a truck just like in a ditch. It's like, oh, well, I can't get into work on time, and there's just a line of cars that like are waiting to, you know, punch in and start their shift, and they're like a half hour late because they're trying to get this truck out of a ditch, and you can't go around because everybody's stacked up in a giant line. That's happened to me like 2 or 3 times in the few years I've worked there. It's not like it's it's like a once or twice a year occurrence where something like that just happens randomly. You got like a quarter of the warehouse is in late because they got this truck. Like if you didn't get there 15 minutes before the truck got stuck in the ditch, then it's like you're going to be punching in late. They obviously know something's up though when you got like 20 plus employees clocking in late at the same exact time 20 minutes after we were supposed to start. Couple lap cars well further back than the rest of the field here, and that would be Paul Menard and Dave Blaney. Martin going 3 wide to the inside of both of them, and trying to put them a lap down. Clean pass on both cars. I'm not wasting any time. I was patient in the fact that I sat behind him in 3 and 4. If I was going to make that 3 wide move, I wanted to make it a 1 and 2, and I did. Almost a 2-second lead over Kenseth, who still remains in 2nd place. Yeah, you asked me if I liked home or road games better earlier. I prefer home games just specifically for the sake that, like, if I want to go, I can. I've been to a couple road games. I've been to Cleveland for 2 games. It's been a few years since the last time I've seen a game at Progressive Field, but I have been up there a couple times because it's only like a little over an hour and a half drive for me to get to Cleveland. It's a shorter drive, obviously, to get to Detroit for me, but Cleveland's not all that far away either. I almost live, if I live like 20 to 30 minutes further east, that would probably be like an even halfway point between the 2 cities, honestly, but and then I was also, when I went to the NASCAR race in Kansas, which would have been fall of 2022, the weekend Bubba Wallace won there. That Saturday afternoon, I went to a Tigers-Royals game because the Tigers happened to be in Kansas City for a 3-game set that weekend. And I was like, oh, cool. You know, I can see the Tigers play. I'm already in Kansas City a day early. So instead of like going to the track to catch the Xfinity race, I took the opportunity to go to Kauffman Stadium and catch Tigers play, and they ended up winning that day. I'm glad I went. They tend to win road games I go to. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't think they've lost when I've seen them play on the road. I think they're 3-0 in road games I've seen them play in. Well, we've got 1 car on pit road. Looks like Matt Kenseth from 2nd place maybe has blown an engine in the early laps of this race. Only lap 60, and we've got actually green flag pit stops, looks like, so only 60 laps in. And we are already seeing pit stops, and these look to be scheduled, so they're getting off sequence, it looks like, with the rest of the field. Well, this definitely makes for an interesting scenario here. I know I can make it to about lap 80, maybe a couple laps past lap 80 before I have to pit. But everybody going to try to short pit, and we'll see what that's going to do, because that's going to put them on. This is not something we saw in a Busch race here, which was cars pitting before the end of the fuel run. We did not see that. But I guess these longer Cup races treat for maybe a more strategy played race, and it's what we're seeing in this one. I will say it opens the track up for us. But yeah, we're going to have about 60 lap older tires now. So this is probably going to be how we'll lose the lead. I'm still going to take this out as long as I can, just in case we get a caution. Man, if I could lap the whole field this early in the race, that'd be something. I'm shocked that they're pitting, though. I'm just going to run my own race here. I'm staying on my strategy of pitting around lap 80. Which only means that they'll pit about 40 laps before me on the next window. And then 60 laps before me the window after that, which would be only 20 laps or so after I end up making my third stop. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a little interesting to see how much time they're actually going to gain on fresher tires on a different strategy than what we're running. I mean, I wasn't even to a quarter of a tank of gas left yet by the time we started to see stops. Again, right at lap 60, Matt Kenseth pit from second, and he was only about 2 seconds off the lead. It's definitely going to be about execution for Mark Martin when he hits pit road around lap 80. Got to get down there without speeding. No practice, of course, is not able to practice a pit road entry. It's relatively easy on this old Phoenix layout. I say that now and then watch me like spin the car coming into the pits or something stupid. I'd like to think I could do it already, but... Two nothing Twins already? I remember one night, I forget, I was on stream and they were down like big in the first like inning or two. Way more than 2-0, I'll tell you that much. It was like 5 or 6 runs they gave up in the first or second inning of the game. This was a while back. It was this season though. I personally like day games, but that's because I was more of a morning person. I mean, now the night games start earlier, and with the pitch clock, they usually end about 9 o'clock, so they're not that bad. But it was a lot harder to watch them when they start at 7. They would take 3+ hours on a consistent basis, and they would get done between 10 and 10:30. If it was like a school or a work night for me, it was just harder to watch. I always liked it during the day, especially on the weekends when I could watch it. You know, growing up and stuff, and the games would be over by like 4:30 in the afternoon. I always liked those better. I've always been to more day games for that reason than night. So Ryan Newman, who was in that lap 8 crash in DNF, sounds like he is going to be returning into this race. Obviously many laps down. Even with these older tires, though, Mark Martin's making some pretty good pace right now through this run. Definitely not getting held up by any lap cars, so that's good. So I'm going to schedule the pit at either lap 80 or 81. With the caution laps we had earlier, I would assume that I can make it a couple laps past lap 80, but I'm only going to go one at the most just to be sure.
Not racing as hard as he could.
Again, everybody has made a green flag pit stop except for your race leader, Mark Martin, which is why it's scoring us as a lap ahead of the field right now. They all short pitted between laps 60, 66 or so. Kyle Busch in the HMS number 5.
Outside. Go in.
He'll go another lap down for the time being.
He's gaining on you.
Where Martin is on the racetrack, though, he should get back on the lead lap once I do make my stop. Same for J.J. Yaley just in front of us here. See what I mean, though? How the lap cars don't give you a lot of room. Like, I was all the way on the apron in 1 and 2, and usually they give me more room on that end of the track than in 3 and 4. Luckily, there is grip to be able to make the pass there. If this was a mile and a half, though, this would be so much more difficult to make passes on this racetrack. I'm lucky enough that I have as much speed in it as I do, too. Which also certainly helps. Yeah, so after we pit, I mean, they're going to be pitting again in about 40 laps. Assuming that they go about 60 or so again. Maybe even a couple laps before that if we don't get a caution during this part of the run. Michael Waltrip trying to block the 6. Make it difficult for this 6 car to get around him. All the way in the apron through 3 and 4 was Martin. Not as good of a run on corner exit as Waltrip. Though fastest lap of the day still for the 6 of Martin. Dropped to 27.731 that last lap. And that was quicker than the pole lap sat by the same drivers of number 6 here. We're going to pit this time. So we'll pit lap 81 coming to lap 82 here at the line. Continuing on through lap traffic, Paul Menard giving us a ton of room. Little does he know we're pitting. Perfect pit road entry too. No damage to repair, no adjustments, 4 tires and a full tank of Sunoco Racing fuel. And we'll get on our merry way. Yeah, football's got preseason starting here in a couple weeks. And got a fantasy football league draft about a month or so. So even through green flag pit stops, Mark Martin holds on to his lead. It actually extends a little bit. And we come out with about 20 lap pressure tires and clean air. Just about a 5-second lead for the driver of the number 6. Maybe tonight is the night we can go wire to wire and lead every lap. Like I said, I haven't done that yet. I don't think on this game in general, any series, Truck, Xfinity, Cup. So let's try to do that here tonight. We've definitely got the pace to do it. We've had one caution already, so we survived one restart, plus the initial start. Went through one wave of pit stops, all under green. Led every lap. The reason why it's so hard, too, is because usually being out in front of the field, you would think I'd be burning just a little bit more gas than drivers further back in the pack that aren't as fast, and then they end up leading laps. But tonight, we were able to go longer than anybody else, which isn't always the case. And it was by an extended amount of time. Again, they're going to have to pit for their second stop in about 35 laps or so. We're going to go another 40 beyond when they pit before Mark Martin gets to his second stop right around lap 160 or so. Appreciate all you guys tuning in tonight. I haven't given any shout-outs yet. Apologize for that. We are like 86 laps in. Appreciate you guys tuning in, though, Friday night. And we will have NASCAR 7 streams every day from today through August 9th, which will lead up into the NASCAR Truck and Cup Series coming back from the Olympic break. And we will have live commentary coverage all weekend from Richmond for the NASCAR Truck and Cup Series races. Plus, of course, Cup practice and qualifying that weekend as well. Oh, F1's still racing this weekend? I wondered if they were or not. Extending the lead even through the green flag pit stops. It was about 5.5 seconds when I first came off pit road 9 laps ago. Now it's 6.5 seconds. No lap traffic we've had to pass yet. We really couldn't have come out in a better spot. I mean, you look at the track map, and it was literally the biggest gap in between cars on the track. Really couldn't have worked out any better for us. Really got the gripping and ripping with these fresh tires.
Normally, you see him block you right about now.
Jeff Burton, Scott Riggs, Denny Hamlin
As clean as possible. It was a
are the 3 cars in front of race leader Mark Martin. Martin on the inside of the 31 of Burton. I mean, this really has to be one of the easiest tracks. Here in Richmond, I feel like, here, Richmond, New Hampshire, are probably the 3 easiest tracks for me on this game. But even in your easiest races, it's just so hard to lead every lap. But again, so far so good. We're only 92 out of 312 in, so we still got a long ways to go. But I'm doing good for myself right now. 3-wide maneuver to get by both Riggs and Hamlin through turns 1 and 2 at the same time. Quite a few cars going a lap down here, as this green flag run has already gone over 80 laps. from the first and only caution we've seen so far tonight. And we will do our first driver swap of the race. And we'll swap back to Jamie McMurray in the 26 car first, and Jamie Max in the 11th place position. I'd imagine Brian Vickers in front of him is a spot. I don't think Sorensen, the next car ahead of him, is. 17.5 seconds off the lead in 11th. It's over half a track behind. Almost 2/3 of a racetrack behind for McMurray. Got by the lapper Sorensen and gets by Vickers for 10th. So there we go. At least 3 Roush cars in the top 10, because Kenseth was second at least before green flag stopped, so I'd imagine he's pretty close to that right now. I don't think we're going to get any more positions out of McMurray on this swap. Next car is David Stremme, it looks like, another lapper. And I think Bobby Labonte after that. I'm not sure if he would be for position or not in 43 Cheerios car. I mean, it's possible Labonte's for position. I know Martin hasn't passed him outright. I don't know if maybe he fell lap down during the midst of green flag pit stops or not. That certainly could be possible. We'll swap to the 16 car of Greg Biffle next, who is ahead of McMurray and also inside the top 10. So looks like Biffle is in the 6th place position. See Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart up here. A lot of lap traffic, too. Lap 99. We'll see what the Biff can do. Each of the top 5 cars outside of the race leader, Mark Martin, all in front of Biffle. Biffle extremely close to the grass. Got all he could there to pick Jeff Gordon behind the lap car. Going 3 wide underneath both the lapper and Gordon. Now trying to squeeze his way under Stewart into turn 1 and do the same thing and pick Stewart behind Robbie Gordon in the 7. Stewart didn't get completely stuck behind the 7 of Gordon, but still solid. And look at the Biff go. Now under Johnson. Clearance made for 3rd. And out of 2nd. Quick and easy work there. About to fall back to 3rd again here once Kenseth gets back by. He's starting to get to Matt during this field swap. Kenseth will take that 2nd place position back out right here. Well, what a day though. Roush Fenway Racing here. 1, 2, 3, and then even McMurray is in 10th. Championship race raced 3 wide photo finish. Winner was Mario Earnhardt.
Okay, time to go. Leader's about 6 seconds ahead.
Beat you by an inch. Won the championship, second in points. I want to know what game this is. That's wild. That's a heartbreaker of a loss, though, too. Been there. I've had some close losses, some close wins. I would like to say I've won every championship season I've raced on the channel. That is not true, unfortunately. Had that do it for Dale's season on NASCAR 06, not pan out my way, unfortunately. Finished like 6th in points or something like that. It just was not good. Had the chase format, a couple DNFs in there, and pretty much took me out of it. And a couple of NASCAR Thunder 2004 seasons. The 2 seasons we did on that game did not win the championship there either. So, definitely haven't won them all. NASCAR 21 Ignition also, when we did that season. Made it to the championship 4, and I lost in the championship race at Phoenix. Tried to make a last lap pass to win it, but it was just a little too far back. Wasn't close enough to make the move work. And that's 4 of them off the top of my head that I can think of that I did not win. I think on the Truck and Bush Series sides, though, I think I have won every title there. Truck Xfinity seasons, I think I've won every championship. Roblox League. Go figure, the team owner wins the championship. We'll go back to Mark Martin for the rest of this fuel run. Should be only about 10 laps away or so from everybody hitting pit road for what will be the second wave of green flag pit stops. Mark Martin will be able to make it to about lap 60, so he's got about 50 more laps at his fuel tank before he pits yet. 3-second lead now. Yeah, okay. Just put him a lap down. He's moving on me. In what universe does it look like he was gaining ground on me as I was passing him cleanly with no crossover attempt? Well, 112 down, 200 to go. And this green flag run has now eclipsed 100 laps. Last restarted at lap 12 from the lap 8 yellow. And Ryan Newman did not return to the racetrack. It looks like he got to pit road, and that was all the further he had gotten in his return to try to make it back into this race from the caution that he had been involved in on lap 8. DNF from that point. I could see him on pit road too. Our next race on this season will be the Brickyard 400 at Indianapolis, and Mark Martin has never won a Brickyard 400 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, so that should be an interesting one. I haven't raced at Indy on this game since returning to the channel with NASCAR 07 content, and that is because Indy is not in the Truck and Xfinity Series. You got to race at Indianapolis Raceway Park to race at Indianapolis. And so we have not gotten to the Brickyard 400 weekend on this series. So no clue if I'm going to be fast, if I'm not going to be fast. Could be a fuel mileage race, that race length as well. And that will begin at about noon Eastern time tomorrow afternoon. Part of 2 straight weeks. Two weeks and 2 Fridays, so 15 straight days of NASCAR 07 action on the channel with this Cup Series season. It's going to be tough for me to get these races in on work nights, but I'm going to do my best. I'm hoping that those are races that are shorter in length. I really have no clue if they are or aren't. If we're going to have a couple 500-mile races in there, those are going to be some long work nights. I'm really hoping that the 500-mile races are going to be my off days. Like this race here, this is like one of the shorter races of the season. It's only 312 miles. Unfortunately, it is on a day I don't work. So this thing may wrap up relatively clean. Really, most of the races on this season are early in the weekend. Now I think, or shorter. This weekend we got this one. The next one's 400 tomorrow with the Brickyard 400 at Indy. Next one's 400 at Homestead miles. 400 miles at Michigan on Monday. And then I go back to work. I don't know what races are after that off the top of my head. I see Kevin Harvick on pit road, so green flag pit stops are starting again. We are at lap 120 now as we cross the line that time by, so it is the window for the second pit stops of the day for everybody not named Mark Martin, and Martin could go another 40 or so from now. An alternating pit strategy here today. Wanted to make sure that Waltrip wasn't going to pit there and be on the apron as he was doing that. That could have turned ugly. I'm not gonna lie, I forgot Waltrip was in the 55. I passed him earlier in the race. Forgot he was in the 55 car. First year of MWR. Well, technically on NASCAR 6, they have the 00. I was listed as an MWR car with Kenny Walsh in the Cup Series. First year Mikey's there here for this NASCAR 7 gameplay. Squeeze there from the 01 of John. I almost said John Hunter Nemechek. Joe Nemechek. That is the father, John Hunter. Used to commentating John Hunter Nemechek every NASCAR race week, taking Joe for John there. Yeah, a lot of pit stops going on right now. I'm going to have to pause it for a quick second. I get to the front stretch here, get my laptop on a charger. Lap 124, I'll do that real quick, and we'll take a quick pause in the action. Be right back. That's good. You know, I do have to say, it's pretty warm in here. Doing these streams on hot summer nights, it is warm. Dropping everything. There we go. Might as well get my phone under charger while I'm up. I'm sweating already, and they're not even halfway. I have air conditioning on, but I stream out of my bedroom. My bedroom's on the side of the sunsets, so in the afternoon, I feel like it just bakes in here. Like, if I'm not doing anything serious, you know, like, I'm not sweating 24/7 in here, but when the sun's out, summertime, it definitely gets warm up in here. And I got long sleeves on, that probably doesn't help. Yeah, you are probably right. And I'm wearing all black, so there's also that. Just heat is radiating off of me. It is July. Murray down on pit road. Again, our second wave of green flag pit stops going on currently. Greg Biffle down in the pits as well. I haven't even hit halfway out of gas at this point in the run. I might be able to go a little further on this run than what I did earlier. I might be able to go a little past lap 160, honestly. I'm fine with it, I guess. I mean, honestly, if this somehow goes green the rest of the way, I'm going to end up making this race on less pit stops than them. Yeah, just hit halfway out of gas, lap 128 at the line, and I pretty much hit halfway out of gas on this run right at that point. Grandma's 74th birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday to her. My grandpa actually just turned 72 on Monday. I think he said 72 when I talked to him. I don't know exactly what year he was born, so I can't do the math for myself, but I think he said he was 72. $75. The more the merrier. Well, she was born in 1952, then she would only be 73. 72, sorry. Yeah, 72.
Still there. The 123 car is going to run high side. Clear, clear, all clear. Getting more room than usual here.
My grandpa?
The 111 car.
I think he, well, No, I'm saying, like, I think he's 72. Like, I don't know what year he was born. Therefore, I can't do the math.
Clear on both sides.
So I'm just trying to think of when I talked to him on Monday. On his birthday, I think he said 72. Which, yeah, he would be born in 1952 if he is 72. But I don't know if he said he was 72 or not. I think he said that. I'm like 80% sure. Honestly, before I talked to him, I wasn't sure exactly how old he was. I knew he was over 70, but I wasn't entirely sure.
The 180 car. Closing the gap
My
behind.
grandpa will be 77 in October.
All clear. Must like it 'cause he's giving you some room. What's up high?
And Jamie McMurray, who was in 10th earlier, is about to go a lap down.
You're gonna do the best you can to help.
Well, technically, it would be a second lap down because everybody has already pitted.
Number 26. Up high.
Once again, the reason I'm a lap ahead of everyone is because I have not made my second stop of the race yet. Everybody else has at this point. Ways to go. Great grandmother will be 96. Yeah, I don't have any great grandparents that are still with me. I think my grandma was like 90 when my great grandma was pushing 90 when she had passed. This was a while ago. I know it was well before COVID. I was probably like 16, 17, 18. It was probably like 2015, 2016, 17, somewhere around there. She was still around. She'd probably be pushing 100. I had to think about it. Sister will be 100 in January. Man, they're all still alive. That's incredible. Be cool to have, you know, all your relatives around that late. It's a long life.
Outside. Still on track.
I think this 43 car, Bobby Labonte's having a great performance tonight. I do believe he is ahead of both Jamie McMurray and Kurt Busch, which tells me he would be in 8th place, I believe. So it could very much be a solid 8th place run for Labonte.
Going up high. Still there. Borderline. He's still there. Whatever you need, you're clear. Giving us some room.
I'm assuming you meant that Javi hit another home run.
The 22
I didn't realize it was only his second of the season yesterday. I know he was hurt there for a little bit, but still, I mean, that just wasn't gone that long.
gaining on you. Clear.
We're after the All-Star break, and he's only got 3 home runs on the season. 2 of them, and he's had more home runs in the last 2 days than what he had the whole season. Maybe he'll turn the corner. I mean, he's only the highest paid player on the team, I would hope. I would hope that he can pull something around.
Respect pays off. He's not blocking like usual.
27.626 that last lap, fastest of the day for Mark Martin,
Number 7.
your race leader.
Been pretty good about giving up some room lately. Still hanging on. You're clear.
Wow, 27.592 that last lap. I was about to say, I think that was the first time I dropped to 27.6 the whole race, and then I dropped to 27.5 the very next lap. We're outpacing everybody tonight.
Giving you some space. Number 41. Up high, up high. The 41 car is making his move on the right. Clear on either side.
Another 27.5. 27.591. Fastest of the race. So I ran 3 of my fastest laps of the race all in the last half dozen laps or so. Martin is cooking tonight. I did it again. I ran the same exact lap time to the thousandth of a second 2 laps in a row. 27.591s. I even clipped the curb on the backstretch at last lap, and I think that was really the first time I've touched it the whole race. It didn't throw the car around like it does every so often when you hit it. 27.558.
Normally, you see him black right about now.
Scott Riggs giving Martin all the room in the world to make 3 and 4.
Number 10, looking for some room to get by you.
Just ran my fastest lap of the race 3 laps in a row. I don't know what's going on, why I'm putting together all these extraordinarily great lap times all of a sudden late in the fuel run, but I'll take it. I don't know where the speed's coming from all of a sudden. That one was slower. It was still 27.5. It's 5 laps in a row. I've dropped to 27.5. I'm just in such a great rhythm right now. Hooking those left sides down on the apron on a consistent basis, put together those great laps. Yeah, I mean, it's like you can't even get me out of the 27.5s anymore. I mean, now I'm trying to go for lap time, so yeah, to a certain extent, I feel like I'm pushing just a little bit harder the last several laps because I'm trying to beat my best lap. Time in and time out, I'm like really focusing here, but Even still. I'm not going to get it this lap. A little wider entry getting into turn one. Yeah. Figured. Dropped into the 27.6s. Trainskate 1024, thanks for tuning in. Driver attributes off, by the way. California lap, the whole field, 100% race, 2 OP. I don't know what you're talking about, the driver attributes. You're talking about like assists and stuff. I don't have those on. I wouldn't be able to lap the whole field like that. I mean, we ran our Busch Series race in California, for instance, and I was not that quick that race. I didn't even have a top 5 car. Just a track-by-track basis, really. Like here at Phoenix, I'm quick, and I'm not actually a lap ahead of the field. Well, I am technically, but I haven't made my second pit stop yet. Everybody else has. I've got a big lead, but yeah, some tracks are just easier for me than others. I can hit my setups. It seems like I got something down for these flatter racetracks here, New Hampshire, Richmond. I'm really, really good here, but you get me on intermediates, I'm kind of hit or miss. This is Legend difficulty, too. I don't know what difficulty you might have been playing on, but or what game for that matter. Because I remember like on NASCAR Heat, California was pretty easy. I remember Auto Club dominating California consistently. I feel like that track's a little bit harder in the EA games. Now they're going to stretch this fuel run out a little bit longer than we did the opening fuel run, and that was even with a caution. Went 81 laps. So 81 will be this time by, but our indicator on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen for fuel isn't even flashing dark red yet. So once it gets to that point, we can still go about another 4 or 5 more laps. Yeah, I remember Old Spice Speedway, we were running some extraordinarily quick lap times, like over 300 laps into that full race. I remember that. Like after 5+ hours of straight racing, I somehow was pulling together my quickest lap times of the day. I'll tell you what, I mean, I'm used to running these full races. When it comes to like having to hit my marks consistently late in the race, I feel like I do a pretty good job. More often than not. I feel like most of the mistakes I make are usually early in the race. Once I get like 100+ laps into me, don't really make any mistakes anymore. Especially if I don't practice, you know, beforehand. It could take me 10, 20 laps. So if I qualify mid-pack or like outside of the lead, that could be tough too. Having to work with dense traffic right out of the gate. Like a night like tonight, starting on the pole, that really helps mitigate any mistakes early when you got clean air and nobody really having to deal with battle for position-wise from the start. I'm going to pit at lap 167. So I'll stay out this time by, and then I'll pit the following time. A lot of clean traffic in front of Martin here. A little over halfway through this race. And we did have a caution back on lap 8. It was the only yellow of the day. Gone over 150 laps during this green flag run. Yeah, I'm about to have 2 sets of green flag pit stops once Martin pits this time by. I think where I really gain the most time on these flat tracks, though, I'm able to have a good enough handling car that I can keep a lower entrance and a lower exit with not giving up a whole lot of mid-corner speed. You know, in the case here, Phoenix able to use the apron. Slid the tires a little bit. Got on the pit road successfully, though. No damage to repair. 4 tires and fuel again for Mark Martin. Try to keep him in the lead. I mean, really, we shouldn't be that far away from everybody else having to pit for their 3rd time. I don't know why their fuel runs are so much shorter. But this is going to allow for us to pit 1 less time than everybody else. Which in return, that is the way we're going to be able to lap the field tonight if we stay green all the way through, is because of that alone. We got good raw speed in it, but there's Kurt Busch. I think he's in 8th. Getting up to speed in between him and Bobby Labonte. He just passed Labonte for 8th place. We should only be about a dozen laps or so away from everybody else having to make their stops. Yeah, I mean, I really want to go wire to wire in this one. This is a race where I'm trying to get all I can. Tomorrow, we'll see what kind of a car I'm going to have when we're at Indy. But knowing the fuel mileage scenario right out of the gate, I'm probably going to be okay with running in the draft behind somebody down those long straightaways and trying to save some gas for the early portion of the race especially. Things really falling our way here with the pit strategy alone in this race. And we got 11.5-second lead, but it stays green the whole rest of the way. Or really even just long enough for them to have to make this next stop. And by the time I end up having to make my 3rd stop, they're going to be pitting right around when I am. They'll be pitting the 4th time when I'm pitting my 3rd time. It's weird, though, because at Bristol, I have to pit before everybody else. I remember that. And that's why I didn't win there. Because I was having to pit like halfway through a run. They could go like the full 150 laps. I could only go like 75, 80. And then here, I'm able to go like 80 plus laps on fuel. What, that last run I went like 87 laps. They're pitting after about 60. So I don't remember that from playing this game growing up. Now, granted, I didn't really do full races all the time. I had before, but, you know, nowhere near as consistently as I do with this channel. I haven't really extended my lead since coming out of the pits. Pretty much stayed right at 11.5 seconds. About 10 laps now. Pitted exactly 10 laps ago.
Number 101 is outside. The 101 car has got a run on you. Clear on both sides. Being nice and giving you some room to race. Watch it, car behind. You got both sides, you're all clear.
We've got cars on pit road right now. I figured, again, lap 180, that's 60 lap stretch mark. We are seeing cars on pit road for their third green flag stops of the day. Okay, Mark Martin's only pitted twice in this one. And he's going to be able to go quite a ways before he pits his third time. In fact, again, probably going to be right around the same time when we end up pitting for our third stop. They'll be pitting for their fourth. It's going to take a caution to really get anybody back into this. And if we get a caution while I already have lapped the field, only one car can get the free pass. More could get the wave around if I pit, but if I stay out, it's going to keep everybody else trapped a lap down, which is probably what I'm going to plan on doing.
Does anyone else see blocking?
Although the only thing with that, I mean, they could all end up pitting and then they wouldn't get the wave around anyway. I guarantee I'd probably have the lead. Obviously, I would have the lead still if I pitted under caution with a lap lead. I'm really looking at trying to lead the most, or well, I've already led the most because I've led every lap so far. We're past halfway, so I've clinched a 10 bonus point night, but trying to go wire to wire, leading every lap. Again, that has so far been the case here in this one. And we have just 139 laps to go, so I mean, we are getting down to it. Slowly but surely.
He's not racing as hard as he could. Watch the outside.
Yeah, there wasn't this kind of a difference in the fuel window when we just raced here a week ago with the Busch Series. About a week and a half ago, we were here for a Busch Series race. Towards the end of that season, on the custom schedule season side of things, because this clearly is a custom schedule season also, but yeah, they weren't pitting like 20 plus laps before the end of a fuel run, so definitely wasn't expecting this coming into the night. You don't get them this easy very often, though, so take it for what it's worth. And again, we had 4 cautions in that Busch race at Phoenix, and we've only had 1 so far today. Now, obviously, still over 100 laps left, so that could change, but we'll have to see. Oh, almost had a yellow. It's a car up in the wall off turn 4. I couldn't tell exactly who it was. All we saw was the smoke. Didn't actually see the car hitting the wall on our end, but we do stay green. I believe everybody who was on the lead lap, again outside of course, the race leader Mark Martin, has pitted. Dave Blaney cleared it. A 3-wide move by Martin. Murray back on pit road. Truck's getting up to speed on the bottom of the track. Kind of caught him in a bad spot there. There, high, get the cut to center, dive underneath them off 4. I'll tell you what, I doubt I'll be able to, have a race this dominant again the rest of the season. But if we're going to go for that record and leading the most laps on the year, this is definitely a step in the right direction. Riffle down on pit road. I mean, if you think about it, that new NASCAR game should be coming out in about a year from now. I know that seems like a long way out still, but a little over a year. Supposedly going to be in the fall next season, but still a little over a year away now. I mean, it's been since about that time in 2021 when the last one came out, so it's definitely been a long minute. I'll tell you what, I am going to have to take a shower when this is done. I am sweating profusely. It is warm in this room. Frickin' neck's all wet. I've been having to wipe my forehead on straightaways. Like, this is insane. I don't remember being this warm streaming a game in a while. Gonna be swimming in the shirt here in about another hour when this race is done. thing. I mean, we still got over 100 laps left yet. Ay, ay, ay. Feel like I could smell myself. I can't talk, smell myself. Reeks. For the record, I've already gone through... I've only had 2 pit stops, so as far as like drinking water during the pit stops, then that one time I paused it. I've drank through almost 64 fluid ounces of water. I've got a little less than a half of a 32-ounce cup left. And I drank 1 already. I guarantee I'm going to chug the rest of what I have when I make my 3rd pit stop here in about 40 laps or so. Trying to prep myself as if I was in an actual NASCAR Cup car. Pull myself through the heat. If they can do it, I can do it. And it's still probably much cooler in here than what it would be for them. Lap 200 this time by the line. It was a Busch Series race. It would be just wrapping things up, but it is not. And we'll still have 112 laps left.
Lap 200.
Pretty long line of lap traffic coming up here. The not so distant future, it'll be one of the heaviest waves of lap traffic we've seen so far tonight. Yeah, honestly, we'll definitely get through all the NASCAR 07 stuff because I do want to do another season for the series in this game. There was something else I had planned for that. I do want to get through modifieds too before I go into NASCAR 08. I haven't done any modified season since NASCAR 05. Wanted to do a couple of those as well. So we'll definitely wrap up all the NASCAR 07 stuff before the end of like this actual NASCAR season. During the winter, we'll bust out NASCAR 08. You know, hopefully get through that at some point during next season, NASCAR 09. And then, you know, in the midst of NASCAR 09, that's when the new NASCAR game will come out. We'll be binging that too. I would imagine with iRacing involved, they should have like every series in the game. I wouldn't even be surprised if they had ARCA or something too, honestly. I don't want to get too ahead of myself in saying that. I don't know anything, but whether that could or couldn't be the case, but yeah, it'll be interesting. You know, even with this being one of the heavier waves of lap traffic we've seen in this race, it really isn't all that bad. All the cars I have passed in this one already, too. I mean, it has been a very, very clean race for myself. I feel like I'm not really making any contact. I have here and there with other cars. I don't think I've hit the wall the entire race. Really haven't come close to it. I mean, again, all it takes is one more yellow to get somebody back into this race. One caution will mean that free pass, somebody will get their lap back. If one caution turns into a couple, then that's more cars that get their lap back, and they're right back in this thing. And with still this many laps left in the race, again, it isn't a lock by any means, despite having a one-lap lead on the field. And if you're wondering how we have a one-lap lead on the field, it is because of an alternating pit strategy where everybody has been pitting every 60 laps, even though our fuel runs, we've been able to go over 80 laps. We've only pitted twice in this race. They pitted 3 times, which is why we have a one-lap lead on the field. Now, I do have the fastest car on top of that, which helps. So having to make that extra pit stop, you're definitely going to lose a lap, no matter who you are. Again, they'll end up pitting for a 4th time right around lap 240. I mean, it isn't entirely possible that I would have to pit a couple laps before lap 240, which is probably looking like it's going to be the case. Then they would pit a little after that. Johnson going a 2nd lap down there. Under to go, 99 laps left at the line now. Last time by. I've been good at the flatter racetracks, like I mentioned on this game so far. That's why I'm curious to know how Indy's going to be for me. Because that is a flatter track, but it's a bigger track, so I'm going to have a lot of speed down the straightaway still, too. NASCAR making the right call or not? I mean, yeah, they probably made the wrong call in the sense of not throwing the caution for Price. You know, spinning. I understand why they were holding out on it. They were hoping that he would get back rolling. So I can understand a little bit of a wait. Obviously, if somebody takes like a pretty hard spin into the wall, and you have to get safety personnel there, you got to throw a caution immediately. He didn't hit the wall very hard at all, but main thing was he slid the tires, punctured the tires, and he was down on the roadblocks with at least one flat tire, if not multiple flat tires, so he definitely couldn't get back going. And the camera angles for NBC did, I mean, you could clearly see he had a flat tire, and obviously if we have the cameras available for us at home, you would think NASCAR has camera angles that can tell that as well. Yeah, they were slow on the quick trigger caution, and I think what just doesn't make a lot of sense, at least for me, and I would imagine most NASCAR fans would agree, is just the inconsistency with it. You know, how many times do we see immediately when there's a spin with 2 or 3 laps to go, caution comes out, like, they're so quick on it. Like, they're quick to cut on it before broadcasters can even tell, you know, where the spin's taking place half the time. And then there's other times that, you know, an instance like this, we see a car spun off turn 2 and they go over a half a lap at Indy before throwing the yellow, which is over, I mean, it's about 30 seconds. I mean, it's a long time. Half a lap is generous, really. They didn't technically throw the yellow until they were in the chute between 1 and 2, and the spin took place off turn 2. So it was probably a good 35, 40 seconds from the time he spun to the time the caution came out. Yeah, it's just, I mean, it is what it is. I've seen enough restarts at the end of that race anyway, so I wasn't, like, bent out of shape by it, you know, by any means. I thought Larson had won the race at that point. I think he had the fastest car down the stretch. He was in the lead. Is it impossible that he would have lost the lead in the restart if we had another one? No, but I do think he was going to end up winning, so I don't think it was going to change the outcome much there. I think it would have sucked, at least for me as a fan, to have seen the race end like that more if Larson wasn't in the lead and say he was still charging through the field, he got to second or third, and then that's the way the race ends, and it's like, you know. And there's people I've seen that have said, like, oh, Reddick was closing on him or whatever. I don't really think he was. He got the second quickly around Blaney, but he wasn't closing the gap at all on Larson. And if he was, how much of that was because he was just in the draft down the straightaways and he was able to keep up with him there, but he would lose him in the corners because Larson had clean air and a better car overall anyway. So I think that was probably the case. He wasn't getting around Larson. He had full speed, 3 more corners to get by Kyle Larson. I don't think he was going to do it. I think Larson was going to win that race anyway. So, yeah, I don't really think that ruined a finish to the race. I think if anything, I mean, maybe there's a chance that Reddick, you know, gets into Larson in the restart and then they both. I mean, yeah, sure, there is that possibility. So I'm not saying Larson 100% would have won it with another restart, but in the preferred lane, faster car, it would have been very hard for him to lose it. So me personally, I wasn't like overly upset about it, honestly. But I can understand why a lot of people were, and rightfully so for that reason, because like I said, there's been some inconsistency with that kind of thing where, I mean, how many times, like even middle of a race, some races will have drivers, you know, cut a tire, have to limp it all the way around under green to pit road, and sometimes the caution comes out right away. Like, I don't know what dictates. I wish there was a set rule to dictate, you know, when a caution comes out. Somebody could slide sideways, save it, lose 5 positions, caution comes out. I've seen that a lot this year, where somebody will be the reason for a caution and they'll lose like 7, 8 positions, and that's about it. It's like, usually if you would spin or be the cause of a caution, you would be towards the tail end of the field. Not like, oh, I was running third, I spun, and I'm still in 8th when the caution comes out. Like, we saw that with Denny Hamlin multiple times this season. I feel like Larson's been in that predicament. It's like, is that really a caution? Can you really say that that person was the cause of the yellow? And technically speaking, at least from what I think, a caution should be. A caution should be, you know, debris or something on the track, or an incident that is in the process of happening in which it puts other, you know, drivers in danger. Well, that's what a caution should be. Now we have 2 guaranteed ones every single race with stage ends, but that's a whole different discussion of its own, which has been beaten to death over the last several years. It's hard to believe we've had stages in NASCAR for 7 seasons now. 8 seasons, sorry, this is the 8th season we've had stages in the Truck Xfinity and Cup Series. It's not new anymore. It's been around for a minute. So I definitely don't think they're going anywhere.
Don't push the fuel too far.
Quarter tank of gas left, lap 230. I think they're going to have to pit a fourth time before I pit a third time. We're going to be seeing drivers pit right around lap 240, and I'm going to be able to go at least a few laps beyond that. It's going to be really close on whether or not I'm going to be able to make it on, what, 3 stops technically? So they pitted 3 times, I pitted twice. So this next one will be our third. I would think, considering we've made it just over 80 laps, assuming I'll go over 80 this run and the last run, we go even 10 more laps here without a caution. We pit under green. I think that will be the last pit stop of the day. Everybody else going to have to pit probably 2 more times based on the amount of times that they pit to this point. They'll probably pit now, and they'll probably pit right around lap 300. Lap 240, lap 300.
Giving you some space. What's up, hot? Whatever you need, you're clear.
I don't mind stages in general for awarding points during the course of the race. I really liked when NASCAR took the stage yellows away at road courses last season, because that's what I had been preaching for ever since stages came into play back in 2017. I've been an advocate for being okay with points awarded, during the race. I mean, there's no, NASCAR's been doing that for a while, really. You think about the bonus points for leading a lap or leading the most laps. That's for running well during the course of a race. This is granted to more than just one driver at a time. This guy threw a terrible block on me. He almost turned himself right back up the track in front of the 41. Reed Sorensen.
About working with them. You're clear.
Oh, caused our second caution. But yeah, I'd like stage yellows to go away. I don't think they're going to. Like I said, I'm surprised they even did it for the road courses last year. It took them so long to do it, but this is our 8th season of having cautions during stages, at least on ovals, every single year, every race.
Go ahead and get on by.
I don't think they're going away, no matter how many times I would say that I would like them to. It's not going to happen. The day that would happen is the day we just wouldn't have stage racing again anyway. Like I said, I don't think they're doing anything away with it. We're this far in.
The 15 car closing the gap behind you. Clear all around. Normally, you'd see him black right about now.
It's a strategy of its own. It's not the same strategy that we would have obviously seen before with NASCAR races and NASCAR racing, but so in that way, it does make the races more intriguing in certain parts of the race, I will say. But
Clear all clear.
the strategy's always been a part of the sport. I think more so now, especially at the Cup Series, the car is just so equal from top to bottom that leads to more strategies, because that's the best way you can, make passes on the track, is by making passes off the track.
Put that stuff far enough. Bring that in.
So in Chicago, straight race become a crown jewel now. We've only had it for 2 years. We haven't even seen a race there without rain yet, so. I mean, the reason why we do have crown jewels as it is now, they've been some of the longest running annual races in the sport. Daytona 500 since 1959. Southern 500's been around since the mid-50s. The Coke 600's been around for over 60 years now. And although the Brickyard 400 some may consider it a crown jewel, some may not. We have been racing at Indianapolis for over 30 years now, so there is something there. And if we were to have a crown jewel that wasn't that, I would say the Bristol, night race or a 500-mile race at Talladega could kind of fill in the fourth slot if not for Indy. And those races have been around. I've been racing at Bristol since at least the 60s and Dega since 69. So definitely a lot of long-running traditions in NASCAR that would take that spot. I don't think the only way you could even remotely make something like that happen is a marquee event for sure, but if it were going to be a crown jewel, then I feel like you'd have to pay the winner substantially more money or something like that to even put it in the topic of discussion for it. First cars on pit road for making their fourth stop, and we have not yet pitted a third time in this race. And they're already pitting 4 times, which is why we have a 2-lap lead on the field. And our only caution was all the way back on lap 8 in an incident involving Ryan Newman in turns 1 and 2, specifically out the exit of turn 2. We've been green for over 230 laps now. 70 laps remain. Well within the window to make it on one more stop for us. They'll probably end up hitting 5 times in this race total, and we'll only have to pit 3 times. Which definitely is making the possibility of us going wire to wire, leading every lap in this race from the pole, very, very high at this point with having a multiple lap lead. Because now it's going to take multiple cautions just for one car to get multiple free passes to get back on the lead lap, rather than just one yellow to get right up in contention. Still could happen because we have enough laps left for it. Get a big enough wreck which causes a few debris yellows. I mean, it definitely could happen, but isn't as likely with the pace and the flow that things have gone thus far. Definitely going to have to pit soon. I'll pit next lap. Lap 247 at the line right now. Under 70 laps to go. We can go 80 plus laps on a fuel run. So again, this will be the final stop for us in this race. Once we get a yellow, and I'll consider pitting again before the end, considering that we've got a pretty lengthy lead. Here we go. No adjustments for the third stop of the day. 4 tires and fuel. A very straightforward race here tonight. Look how clean that car is. Have you ever seen a cleaner car 240 plus laps into a race on a tight 1 mile racetrack? And it's just been an impressive drive. Martin gets up to speed underneath the 11 of Hamlin. Hamlin catching Martin in a pretty bad spot there. We do still have one more field pass to get through in this race. We'll wait until all the green flag pit stops cycle out first. Now, because of where we're at, somebody is on the lead lap that has not pitted yet in the midst of Mark Martin pitting. So if we were to get a caution to really get things interesting, this would probably be the way to do it. Without having to get multiple yellows in a pretty short string of events here. Tough to tell exactly how big of a lead we have. McMurray just coming off of pit road. Greg Biffle pitting. I believe he was on the lead lap at the time. And there's still at least one more car on the lead lap that has not pitted. I'm just holding on for dear life at this point. Hoping for something to get him back into this race. Second place did not pit that time by. Just over a 24-second lead. Biffle going 2 laps down again there. I believe Jimmy Johnson's on pit road right now. He was in second, and that will put Martin a lap ahead of the field. Johnson could get that free pass if a caution comes out before he gets lapped this next time by. I think Kenseth will end up being in second. Either him or Biffle when everything completely cycles through here. I imagine Kenseth has pit already. Johnson definitely going to be 2 laps down now. I haven't really seen anybody blow any engines in this race today. I know Newman wrecked out early, but there's that going pretty strong at this point as well. Han's good, not giving a lot of room for Martin to make this pass. Martin finally gets underneath him through 3 and 4 there. Honestly, as far as Jimmy Johnson just made that last stop, I wonder if he's going to have to pit again before the end of this race. To go 60 laps from where he's at right now would get him to a lap 316 marker, so there's definitely going to be some drivers that are not going to be able to make this race. And me being 2 laps ahead of the field also kind of helps him a little bit as well as far as trying to make it. We know we're plenty good to the end. But again, just basing off of when everybody else is pitted, some are going to have to pit 5 times total, some 4, but we're definitely on the 3-stop strategy, and it's panned out beautifully. Obviously, for this to happen, we needed this race to go nearly caution-free, or at least in the case where we did get a yellow, it was super early like we had it. It was either going to have to be super early or super late if we were to get a yellow or 2, and happened at lap 8, and again, we haven't had one since. Honestly, as hard of an impact as it was to the back of Ryan Newman's car, too. I'm surprised they didn't get any debris yellows, which only tells me that obviously Newman DNF'd, but I wonder if somebody else, car that hit him, might have DNF'd too. And that's why we didn't get a debris yellow or anything of that nature. Now we're well beyond it. I don't think we would get a debris caution unless there was a hard impact somewhere else on the racetrack in the last couple hundred laps. Some cars coming in, at least a car coming in. It's like JJ Yaley, I think, was just down on pit road. It looked like him. 18 interstate battery Chevy. Back when Joe Gibbs Racing was still in a Chevrolet. They'll be in a Toyota here shortly on our season playthroughs. Give it a couple more years. Get the NASCAR 09. I am interested to play both 08 and 09. I have never played those two NASCAR games. $50 laps to go in this race as of hitting the start-finish line that time by. So Mark Martin will eclipse 2,000 laps led in the first 20 races this season. Tells you how strong of a season we've really had. First Cup race in the 2000s. Yeah, it was 2008. They were in the Cup Series in 08. Which is why we would get there with the NASCAR 09 video game, because that would be the 2008 season when that game came out. Martin closing in on Elliott Sadler. He'll get underneath the 38 car through turns 1 and 2. Martin clear. And we'll take our final field swap of the day. And first we go back to the third place car, Matt Kenseth. Wonder who second place would be. It probably is Jimmy Johnson. It looks like I see Johnson up there. There's 3 lap cars between Kenseth and the 48. Big blocking here on the front straightaway by Denny Hamlin. Had to get hard on the brakes into the corner, keep from running in. The back of him still got underneath him. Making a 3-wide pass under both the 11 and the 45 of Kyle Petty, who was up there as well. Now those two side by side out of the rear view on the 17. Kenseth's been one of the first cars to pit road through the green flag run. we are currently on. Ends up looking for the 48. Drove it into the inside wall, trying to get underneath him there, and that slowed Kenseth down. There's momentum on the front straightaway. So battle for second. Lap carb Kurt Busch is up there. Kenseth 3 wide to the bottom. Sailing it down on the apron. Oh, little contact with Johnson, but clear off turn 4. And now to Biffle back and forth, who is just in front of the 5th place car of Jeff Gordon. And a little bit behind where the 48 and that 17 car are currently. Oh, contact with Kyle Petty. I just knocked him up into the wall. And the dogleg. These lap cars starting to not give as much room as they did once before in this race. In the late going, a little bump and run on Hamlin's left rear corner panel off turn 4. How tightly he was even running me down the straightaway. I just remember that from the Busch race here. They do seem to crowd. It does seem like it hasn't been as bad as what it has been the last dozen laps or so, but like now we're just at the point we're so late in the race, nobody gives a damn anymore. That's what it really is. Well, look at this guy. I don't know how many laps down he is. Probably 4 or 5 at this rate. Kenseth driving away from Johnson. Trying to. Saw Hans good up here. Actually thought that was Jimmy. 27.497 that last lap for Biffle. Fastest lap of the race by him. Really, that would be for any of the Roush cars in this one. Johnson comes into this race second in points as well. And one more lap with the 16 that will transfer to McMurray here. Might have a chance for Biffle to get to third. Maybe even second. It's going to get tight. 3 wide. Ripping it up down on the apron of the racetrack. Biffle's going to get by both the 17 and the 48 through 3 and 4. Biffle to P2. McMurray in 13th. 3 laps down. I think Dale Jr. would be a spot here. He's definitely not on the same lap as the 16 and the 17. Johnson looking to get back by the 16 car through 3 and 4 now. We'll see if Kenseth can do the same. Biffle falls right back to 4th again. Murray gets by both of them. Dale Jarrett, I believe, would be 11th place for McMurray. McMurray's been the last of the Roush Fenway cars to pit, so maybe there's a chance he makes it. Now having to pit again, he could get a top 10 finish out of it that way. Murray trying to maybe pick Johnson behind Dale Jarrett. As JB Mack makes the pass on both of them. Back to Mark Martin for the rest of the race. And he has pitted one less time than everybody else in this race. So he has pitted 3 times to everybody else's 4. There will be 5 for some people before the end. We're expecting more pit stops right around lap 300. How many of those will be able to actually go to the end? It could shake up the running order in those top 10 positions quite a bit here as we get closer to the finish. 30 laps to go at the line this time by for Mark. We've done good. Can't do any better. So wire-to-wire lead all 312 laps will be the first time, at least on NASCAR 7, I've been able to do that in any series. Do it in a cup race, which is well longer than a truck or a bush race here, which would be 150 to 200 laps depending on the series. This one, 312. I mean, it's impressive, but again, when you look at it that I've pitted one less time than everybody else, all under green flag conditions, definitely makes it easier. We have had the fastest car here. I wouldn't have this big of a lead. You know, I probably wouldn't even have lapped the entire field by now. I think before they would have pitted the 3rd time, when we had pitted twice, I only had about an 11.5-second lead. So it wasn't like, you know, I had already lapped them once. You know, I still had less than a half a track lead over second. So on the stat sheet, it's definitely going to look a lot more dominant, I guess, than what it could have been. But a win is a win is a win. Another step closer to the championship. Don't want to pull a Tony Stewart from the Busch Series season and blow a 300-plus point lead in the final half a dozen races. So keep building this. And I know it's an obnoxiously large lead. That's why at this point I'm just trying to go for records. I haven't had a season like this on the channel yet to win a championship by like this much, potentially. Again, there's no playoffs or chase format on this custom schedule season, so it will be an outright, you know, championship win. Average finish was a 3.5 coming in. It's going to be less than that with a win here tonight. Or any finish 3rd place or better, it would have lessened. So trying to go for a record there and maybe a laps led record on the season. Somebody mentioned there was over 4,300 laps we have to lead. That's going to be tough. I've kept track all season. This will put us up over 2,000 with 16 races to go. I'll take a look at that schedule as soon as this race ends on this stream before I exit the stream just to see what we have left. Obviously, these flatter, shorter tracks are best for us. I don't know how many more we have left this season. And that'd be big, too, because they're the longer... not longer races, but they've got more laps, obviously, in them to be able to lead in a situation. So we'll see. I know we got a couple more super speedway races left, so those are going to be kind of tough just to win, let alone... try to do something like this, which is lead a bunch of laps. .23 to go. Kyle Busch going to lose another lap. 20 laps to go at the line this time by. That's insane, though, that we had a caution so early in this race and didn't have another one. Lap 8. And we had 4 yellows in a 200-lap Busch race here a week and a half ago. We get one on lap 8, and I was automatically thinking that I even said it wasn't going to be the last. Probably going to be far from the last. I just would have imagined with the pace we had in the Busch race here and a less lap of a race than this by 112 nonetheless. We're going to see at least that many, if not a couple more. And again, with the alternated pit strategy here for Mark Martin, it's made this race too easy, really. I'm sure Indianapolis will be a little bit tougher to try and win tomorrow. And again, noon Eastern time, I will go live for that. Brickyard 400. As Mark Martin had never won the Brickyard 400 in his NASCAR Cup career. He's obviously retired right now, so no chance of him being able to do that. So we'll try to do it for him. We did win the Daytona 500 earlier in the season, first ever for Mark Martin, so try to win the Brickyard 400 as well. Won the first ever Busch title for Jimmy Johnson as well last week on the channel, in fact. Now, I was looking back, so I mentioned at the start of the stream that August 24th of last year, 2023, that was the last time we ran a race on this season. It's over 11 months ago. I started this season March 17th of last year. It has been almost a year and a half since I started this season. We're only on race 20, but we will wrap it up here in the next couple of weeks with NASCAR on their 2-week Olympic break. Did my math already. We'll have 3 races left in the season when NASCAR comes back. So then I'll finish it the following middle of the week after in between basically the Richmond and the Michigan races. Lap 299. 300 this time by. You know what I kind of want to see here? Just the anomaly of getting a caution at lap 8 and with 8 to go. Oh, we got a car on pit road. Right at lap 300, so yeah, here we go. Green flag pit stops are starting. Not everybody will have to pit a 5th time. Obviously, we're only going to pit 3 times. We don't have to pit again the rest of the race, but some drivers will be making a pit stop. Some are going to try to stretch it on 4. And Jimmy Johnson was one of the last ones to pit. He was in 2nd place anyway, so more than likely he should finish 2nd still. Oh, Kenseth's in. So Matt Kenseth, who was in the top 3, more than likely was in 3rd. Biffle was 4th when we had seen him last. What am I doing in the grass? Haven't done that all night. Lack of focus, 300 plus laps in. This is literally going to be an exactly 300 lap run to the checker. Going great. I paused it for a little bit to get my laptop on a charger middle of the race. We got somebody blowing up on the inside of the track here. That's the 126 car in the middle of 3 and 4 trying to limp his way back around. So he's blown an engine in the closing laps. 10 to go at the line. Kenseth's made his way off of pit road and up to speed now. And more than likely he's lost another lap as a result of that. Haven't seen Biffle or McMurray pit yet. That'll probably put McMurray up in the top 10 ahead of the 17. He wasn't quite a full lap behind him. Oh boy. Got that corner off maybe a little too much, trying to get by the 42 Casey Mears here. Appreciate everybody staying out to watch this stream, especially those of you that were here from the very beginning, because it has been kind of a lackluster of a return here with the Mark Martin Revenge Tour as far as us just putting a beat down on the field. We have 6 laps to go and a 2-lap lead in a race which will go 300 laps green to the end. 1 caution all the way back on lap 8. Ryan Newman DNF from it. Had not returned since. Haven't had a caution since. And the reason why we're 2 laps ahead of the field, you see pit stops going on right now. We can make it to the end. Not everybody else can. And there was an accelerated fuel window for the AI for some reason. They have pitted anywhere between 4 to 5 times in this race. Some will make it on 4 stops, but most a 5-stop race. We only had to pit 3 times. All under green flag conditions. Nobody pitted during the lap 8 caution. So if you're wondering, well, he's got it on easy mode, he's got a 2-lap lead. That is why we have a 2-lap lead. I had about an 11.5-second lead. I think the last time we were all on the same pit stop number, where we had both pitted twice in the race. So I don't even know that I would have lapped the field once in this one, going green all the way through it. Because that was over halfway through. I mean, we were like right around lap 180 with an 11.5-second lead earlier. Ready to go. Still got cars cycling in and out of pit road. Ay, 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 ay. I feel like I've been overdriving the corners more in the last several laps than I have the entire race. It's like the second time I've been all the way out in the grass in 3 and 4. White flag at the line. And it will be the final lap. No cautions on the last lap. Yeah, 300 lap green flag run to the checker. Who would have thought that was going to happen? 101 car coming out of the pits down on the bottom of the track. Martin going to clear him easily as that car gets to speed. No lap cars in front of the 6 into 3 and 4 for the final time. Mark Martin will dominate, go wire to wire, leading all 312 laps from the pole. As dominant as it gets here at Phoenix. Let's go. Rip my earpiece out there, dude. 2 hours, 29 minutes. That was a short race, let me tell you. It was a short cup race. I couldn't imagine me sweating profusely like I did if it was going to be a 3+ hour event, but the lack of cautions here definitely made the race pace fly by. 2 less pit stops. Freaking banging the left side of my car into the wall. There goes the nose. Clearly, I've forgotten to do a burnout in the Cup car. It's been a minute. It's probably been like almost a year since our last win in this in this season. I need to go down here where I have more room. We'll do it for the turn 4 crowd. There we go. Still gonna nose it. Yep, alright, there we go. That's good enough. We'll pass inspection now. So Matt Kenseth, he pitted late. I did not see Greg Biffle come to pit road. That ends up with Kenseth going from 3rd to 7th in the closing laps of this race. It definitely has altered the finishing results of this one. Whoa, whoa, whoa. It said 3. I led every lap. And it's saying I didn't. Wait a second here. It's saying Matt Kenseth led a lap. He didn't lead a lap, though. It's saying 6 lead changes. There was never 1 lead change this entire race. We started on the pole, and we led every lap. How is there 6 lead changes, even if I did? Well, that's just... I wish the game would recognize that I led every lap. I mean, we clearly led every lap in the race. You can go back and look at the 2.5-hour footage. That... I don't even know. I mean, even during green flag pit stops, they all pitted before I did the first time, and I cycled out of the pits with a 5-second lead. So yeah, nobody else led. You can take my word for it. We went wire to wire. We led all 312 laps. Jimmy Johnson finishes in 2nd place tonight. Greg Biffle 3rd. Jeff Gordon 5th. And how about Bobby Labonte in the 43 car, finishing in 5th? I told you he was having a good run. I figured he was in the top 10. Kenseth pitting late. Got him a top 5. Jamie McMurray finishes 6th. Matt Kenseth 7th. All 4 Roush cars in the top 7. Technically, Kenseth gets bonus points out of that, even though he shouldn't have. So that's another bonus for him. J.J. Yaley on Field Strategy gets a top 10 tonight, finishing in 8th. Jeremy Mayfield 9th, and Joe Nemechek 10th. I don't think any of those 3 guys are in the top 10 the entire race, but they got it with only pitting 4 times compared to most of the field 5. That's why you see Michael Waltrip 11th, Casey Mears 12th, and then you see some of the other guys like Kurt Busch, Tony Stewart, who were top 10 most of the night. Ellie Sadler, yeah. Well, that was interesting. Yeah, Ryan Newman, lap 8, got in that crash, never returned. B. Chandler DNF'd, he blew an engine at lap 150. And then Tingen, we saw in the 126 car, he blew a motor at lap 296 late. So only 3 DNFs. 2 engine failures. 2 hours, 29 minutes, 2 hours, 29 minutes, 25 seconds, just under 2.5-hour race. This was a quickie. 2 laps. Margin of victory. Well, there you have it. There he is, hugging the Biff. Gets a podium finish too. Yep, game is muted. Next race tomorrow afternoon, noon Eastern time. And it will be the Brickyard 400 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Wish I could have done this race last week. So leading all the laps I did in this race. Now puts me at 2,053 laps led on the season. And we have 12 wins, 17 top 5s, and 18 top 10s. And as far as the races remaining, we have Brickyard 400, Homestead, Michigan, Talladega, Texas, Chicagoland, Pocono, Dover, Martinsville, California, Watkins Glen, Bristol Night, Atlanta, New Hampshire, and Infineon, Daytona. So those are the remaining races. Infineon, of course, being Sonoma. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this all pans out. But yep, I will see you guys tomorrow noon Eastern time for our next NASCAR 7 live stream. Of course, no NASCAR this weekend. Olympic break going on. Cup Truck Xfinity Racing. So with no live commentary, we're going to be binging the rest of this season. The route to getting Mark Martin his first career championship. And if we're in contention for any sort of records at season end, we'll play it all the way through. Which we could be. I'll have to check out after the stream is over what the record is for the best average finish. Because it's under 3.5 for us now with this win. I've only finished outside of the... I mean, this is crazy. We've only finished outside of the top 10 twice. I finished 11th in the Coke 600. And I finished 23rd at California in the first race there. I led 8 laps in that race. The 600, I led 58. So those are the only 2 races I finished outside the top 10. I've only finished outside the top 3 times this season. Those 2 races I finished outside the top 10, and then I finished 10th in the first Dega race. So are literally the only races that I finished outside the top 3. That's insane. That's why we have such a good average finish right now. See you tomorrow. We're going to try to win Mark Martin his first career Brickyard 400. Hit the like button on the stream if you haven't done so yet. Have a good rest of your Friday night. And I'll see you back better than ever in the afternoon.